So welcome everybody. How are you doing today? It's so very nice to have you here. And today I wanted to speak a little bit about our upcoming March intensive. An intensive that begins on March 23rd. Give everything up for freedom. Realizing the true nature of I and the missing link to awakening. You know, it's such a powerful statement. Give everything up for freedom. And I want to clarify a little bit what I mean by spiritual freedom. Because sometimes we use these words, awakening, freedom, interchangeably. Sometimes, you know, as I explained before, I really make a distinction. I make a distinction between awakening, which is a permanent shift from knowing yourself as this body-mind to knowing yourself as presence. And freedom, which I call the true independence from the past. You know, by now I hope everybody understands that even spiritual awakening does not mean the end of the patterns of the past. And so a true independence from the past is really relevant at any point. It doesn't matter where you are in this journey, before, during, after awakening. A true independence from the past is really where it's at. You know, when we say, what I really want is to be here, right? What I really want, in other words, is not to follow the patterns of the past. So when I say give everything up for freedom, you know, because sometimes we can have this notion, this idea of what it means, right? And then we begin to eradicate or change or alter our life because we believe we know what it means to give everything up for freedom. However, what I'm speaking about is more internal. It really begins with a deeper listening. With a deeper listening to what arises within. And when I say what arises within, I don't necessarily mean the patterns of the past, even though, of course, we want to be aware, you know, because awareness, very powerful, and it leads to discrimination, to our ability to say, this is the past. But when I say to listen more within, I mean to pay attention to that deeper voice, to that so often quieter voice, to that knowing that arises within. Because you see, in reality there is no separation, so our true nature is already here. It is speaking to us, oftentimes externally through the words of the teacher, or the teaching. However, it is also speaking to us internally through that knowing, through that motion and movement in which we know something. We know this is the way to go. And so the more we listen to that, the more we identify that, the more we realize that that is really the true movement. You know, the more naturally we begin to follow that, the more it becomes apparent what it means to give everything up for freedom. Because what we are giving up are notions, ideas, beliefs, convictions, attachments, you know, ways in which we believe we have to function, or we have to live, we have to go in this way. You know, we are giving that up, right? We are giving that up in favor of following what we know is true. And that's so very deeply, you know, I don't have other words than personal or individual or within, so very deeply within that knowing. You know, so much of the time we doubt that knowing. That's why, again, so often we need the words of the teacher or the teaching or the connection with the teacher as well. Because we need to be reminded, this is what it is, this is where it's at. You know, but we doubt this inner knowing because of the past. Because we have been told so many times, no, you have to be like this, and you have to go like that, and you have to live like this, and you have to do this. And so give everything up for freedom. Take time, daily, moment by moment, at all times. Take time to know what is really moving within. Take time to know your true nature. Take time to know that movement within. Take time to follow that. Become devoted to that. Become a devotee of your own true nature. Give everything up for freedom, you know, abandon all notions, all ideas, all conditioning, and just simply trust in what is here in a moment, and also in what you know, moment by moment by moment. So there are, of course, many other things we'll be speaking about in our intensive, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And I am inviting you all to join me. Also, if you are enjoying these videos, please subscribe and comment and share and like. You have been doing this so much more, and I really appreciate it. It really makes it more visible. It makes it more accessible to others. So I'm very much looking forward to our time together.